Okay, welcome and thank you for taking the time. I'm here to present you some tricks and tips for enhance your stress management skills. So enhance your threshold with stress with different techniques. So I'm Beatrice from the Herbal Geek Naturopathic Clinic, which is in Kongens Lyngby. And there you can see there are some material if you want to have a look. But let's jump in. So it's very short presentation of who I am, just to give you background, what I'm doing, what I have been doing. So I'm a naturopath. I have a diploma from the Irish School of Herbal Medicine in Ireland. So that's where I studied naturopathy. But I keep actually studying it also, even though I'm fully certified. I've been studying there herbalism, clinical nutrition, iridology, and natural therapeutics. I also have a diploma for herbal medicine making from Oregon, USA, where I've been studying for a short period of my life. And I also have a PhD in pharmaceutical chemistry, which I actually got here in Denmark. And I'm also a pharmacist from Florence. On top of that, I have different diploma from a school, also an holistic naturopathic school in Italy, where I also come from. And I'm also soon a certified acupuncturist from the Copenhagen Acupuncture School. So this is my background. And let's talk about stress now. So here are some of the symptoms that you can have when you are stressed. You probably know them all, or you've been to some extent been afflicted by some of them or them all. So some of them are irritability, impatience, anxiousness, anxiety, depressions, not very major depression, but usually it's small, low-grade depressions, sleeping problems, and many others that you maybe already know. But what is stress really? So stress is actually a natural, physiological, and life-saving skill that we have evolved with. So stress is actually what once upon a time have saved us from tiger that was showing up. And then we had to actually have a physical response to that. So what was the response that we are programmed to have is the 3F, the freeze, fight, or flee. So this is what anything that actually produces stress to us make us have in our bodies, our body response. So what you maybe don't know is that in 1936, a doctor, actually it was a Hungarian doctor, he wrote about the general adaptation syndrome. It's basically have been describe what are the different phases of stress, and they can be schematized in three different steps. The first one is alarm reaction, the one that we just talked about. So you see a stressor trigger that could be the tiger once upon a time, or it could be your spouse yelling at you, or somebody yelling at you, your boss, or anyone else that is triggering you some stress. That's an alarm reaction. So your sympathetic system start. So you start feeling your heart racing, and you start feeling very warm, and you start feeling you can't eat anything, you can't sleep, you are very, very agitated, irritable. So that's basically your first step. If the trigger persists to be there, then you go into the second phase, which is resistance. So you start fighting the trigger, fighting back. And so what you do there is you produce a lot of neurotransmitters actually to keep fighting the trigger, the stressor. And it's usually the phase also where you start getting a lot sick. So immune system goes down, you get sick a lot because you're getting weaker and weaker. And that's the third. So if the trigger persists, that you didn't adapt to the stressor, that's where you go to exhaustion, burnout. And that's where the phase is where you start getting depressed, and you feel life has no really why is there? You feel you don't have a purpose anymore, and you feel you feel alone. So all those symptoms that goes in the last phase of stress. So let's start with these 5 fundamental steps. The first one is the one everyone knows, basically, is diet, what you're eating. Because as we talked about, when you are stressed, you produce a lot of like different neurotransmitters, right? You start producing a lot of adrenaline in the beginning, cortisol, and then other neurotransmitters throughout the other phases. So diet, it's extremely important actually to help you cope with stress. But I want to ask you a question. Is one type of diet okay for everyone? What do you think? No, that's right. We are all unique, actually. So we all belong to the same species, of course, but we all have our own constitution, health predisposition, and also our like emotional baggage, right? That is also having a big influence on how is our like resilience, how is our health. So when you go to a holistic practitioner, or when you decide what to eat, you should always have in mind which are your predisposition, what you usually get sick with, or what is your constitution really. You must have a feeling on how strong you are, right? When you go to an holistic practitioner, then he's gonna look at you and ask you different question. First of all, it's going to look at your body type. Okay, are you like long, short? Are you a little bit robust? Are you slim? There are different things that it's going to tell you about, which constitution you are, how you burn calories, or like not only how your metabolism is working, right? But also the posture, I can tell you, is telling you a lot about what you're fighting with, like, who you are as a person and which kind of problems you are struggling with. So posture, body type, that's something that we always look when you go to like an holistic practitioner. But not only, I also work a lot with iris. It's a technique, art, or science that look at your iris structure and color to determine which kind of body type, which kind of constitution, predisposition in health you have. So here you have like an eye with pretty good structures, like fibers are tight enough between each other. It tells me that this person is probably very resilient. So it's gonna digest whatever is basically she's gonna, a lot of things that she's gonna or he's gonna eat. It's also gonna be, it's not gonna get sick very easily because it's kind of strong in constitution. But it's also telling me this, I don't know if you can see it, but it's like kind of orangey, yellowish in the inside. It's going to tell me what? It's going to tell me that this person is probably not digesting carbs as much, or sugars, has a problem with sugars. So that is going to kind of move me towards a diet instead of another. Or like this type, this is a very strong one, but it has a tendency towards inflammation, for example. So it's telling me other things. Or this one here, he has another color, of course, so it's probably going to be towards more metabolic problems. And these openings that you have, it's not only telling me that he's a very sensitive person, this one, but it's also not gonna digest as good, or it's just gonna be more sensitive to stress. It's gonna be more sensitive, for example, to what he or she eats. So it's gonna, I'm also, the practitioner is also gonna look at that. And also other things like how are your nails or hair? Do they fall off? Are they strong? Or like which emotion is coming through? So that's also actually say a lot about your organ health. So which emotion you're actually showing people is telling me if you are very angry, for example. It's probably something that you build up a lot in your liver. I know that might sound like weird, but that's also Chinese medicine is working in this way. So if you go to your acupuncturist, is also going to look at these things. Yeah. So, and then I'm going to look at your skin, temperature, your pulse, your tongue. So just to have a whole picture of who you are and what are your needs. So, but let's go back and diet. So it's not okay every diet for everyone. What about season? Is it okay to have the same diet throughout the years? No. I mean, we have different needs throughout the years. So what I'm going to talk about today is a diet for winter season, because now we are in winter, for an average healthy person. But just to keep in mind that if you want like a very customized diet, you need to look at all these things, So this is, I know that I'm not going to be popular here, but this is our like inflammation triggering food. Inflammation is also a stress trigger because inflammation is actually putting our body under stress. So this is our here like some inflammation triggering foods and anti-inflammatory foods. So when we talk about anti-inflammatory diet, it's basically what makes our body in the best condition to actually fight stress, because it doesn't put it under like the stress of inflammation. So inflammation triggering food, we have processed sugars, so candies, cakes, biscuits, but also sodas are in the category, you know. And white bread, pasta, and rice, stuff that is really refined. So that's been so refined that all the fibers, all the minerals are being taken away. So other things like dairy products are very inflammatory as well, but here in bold are those that are the way worse for who is already stressed. That's coffee, especially if you have like already gut issues, digestive issues. That's like a no-go, absolutely. So coffee, black, white tea, also white and milk chocolate can also trigger inflammation in your gut and in your body. What do you actually eat then if you can't eat all of it? I mean, you can eat all grains. So everything that is whole grain food, it's good. The less processed, the better. And vegetable, roots, legumes, which are beans, and small-sized fish, superfoods in the whole category that we're not going to talk about it in this session, but depending on your type, some are going to be better than others. For example, if you have a person that is very much up in their brain, then you probably need blue algae because it replenishes the minerals that you're burning all the time, for example. Or garlic if you have a lot of infections or stuff like that. And here there is a sign close to simmer dishes, because this is especially good for winter. So simmer dishes where you put like a lot of fruits, vegetables, stuff that is cooked for a long time with broth, is especially good to keep you healthy throughout the winter season. And basically put you in the best possible shape to deal with everything you're dealing every day. So that's the first one. And a special mention to something that nobody's talking about, but everybody should, is water. So water intake is extremely important to flush out toxin. Toxin don't come only from food or environment. They come from your thoughts, even like, you know, how you process stuff, how you perceive stuff is producing neurotransmitter in your body. And that produces toxin, oxidation, that needs to be flushed out. So water intake, it's also making your energy flow goes better. So everything, your organ works better, everything works better if there is water. I think there's like a doctor, an Indian doctor, that has been writing a book about water, like the benefits of water. And he says, and I agree with him, that water is the first medicine everyone should think of when they are sick. So just water. And so I recommend usually 2 liters a day. And if you drink coffee or black tea, a bit more, because coffee and black tea are dehydrating, as you may know. So let's go ahead with sleep. That's also like something that everybody knows. So nothing new, but how? So sleep is, of course, here's like the yin and yang. So if you do a lot of stuff throughout the day, you also need rest. That's no news about it. So you need sleep to recover from what you're doing throughout the day. And some good advices to improve your sleep are, for example, sleep regularity. So go to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time. Everything that disrupts like a rhythm, it creates energy blocks in our body. If you think about Chinese medicine, but actually Ayurvedic medicine or Western medicine, everyone says that. So regularity is what makes you be able to cope also with stress. So if you eat at different times of the day, if you sleep at different times of the night, then it's gonna disrupt your like health with a long time, you know, in a long time. So do not go to bed after 11 if you're stressed. That's also a reference to Chinese medicine, actually. In Chinese medicine movement, planning, and a lot of things that has to do with management goes to an element which is called wood. And wood element has its peak basically from 11 to 3 in the night. So that means that if you are a person that already has a lot to do, right? Maybe you are even a wood constitution and you go to bed. After 11, then you're going to start thinking, I have to do that tomorrow, I have to do that tomorrow, the list, I have to update the list, I have to update that meeting, and all of these things, you know, because you can't just rest. That's your peak time of your wood element. So you need to go to bed before 11 to avoid doing stuff like that. So that's a good rule for you to keep in mind. Even if you wake up at night between 11 and 3, it means you are stressed. So you have too much to do, because it's related again to the wood element in the Chinese medicine. And not eat heavy food before going to sleep. Why that? Well, it's because heavy food are difficult to digest, pretty much. And if you go to bed right after you ate this, your body is going to use energy instead of repairing your body and making sure that everything is working fine to digest that food. So you're not going to sleep all right. You're not going to replenish your body with energy. You're not going to repair what it needs to be repaired. So never eat heavy food before going to sleep, or try to avoid it, at least. What if you can't go to sleep? What if you just go to bed and you can't sleep? And even if you go before 11, nothing changed. Well, I have some good technique that you can use. Yoga Nidra, I don't know if any of you have heard of it. It's a very good technique to actually fall asleep in the best possible way. Nigra, it means in Sanskrit to sleep. So it's sleeping yoga. So you go to bed, basically you brush your teeth, you go to bed, and before going to sleep, you put this, you can find it on Spotify, plenty of this Yoga Nidra. You just type it in Yoga Nidra, then you find the one that you best like. And it's like a guided meditation throughout sleep. And it's really helpful if you can't fall asleep by yourself, or even if you want some restoring sleep, or if you can also do it for a nap throughout the day, and it's 20 minutes usually, and it's really restorative. So keep that in mind. And the last one, but not the least, listen to your body needs. Are you tired? Go to sleep. So the third one, it's another that exercise. Why exercise? Well, we talk about the fact that stress is creating energy blocks in your body. A way to get rid of these energy blocks is through movement. And I mean, this is something everybody knows. And I want to say something about exercise, because exercise is not only good for body, but it's also good for your mental health. So in Chinese medicine, exercise creates flow energy in the body. So everything is working better because there is flow, and stimulate lungs and heart to pump blood throughout the body so that every organ, every tissue is nurtured and fed. Exercise also avoid blood stagnation. So if you have, for example, your chronic fatigue, for example, or chronic cold hands and feet, I know plenty of my clients that they have cold and feet that are constantly cold. That's also a sign that your blood is not coming where it should be. It's not going where it should go. So exercise is also a very good way to avoid this blood stagnation. But what does this mean actually in Western medicine? Yeah, well, it means that exercise, as you know, release endorphins, which are our pleasure hormones, and improve your brain health, have managed weight, reduce risk of disease, strengthen bones, muscle, anything that you can think of is really good for everyone. But I want to ask you something. Is it too much exercise a good thing? No, because it's written there, but too much exercise can drain you. So it really depends on your constitution. So that's why I usually tend to tell people to do exercise, but depending on your constitution, a different type of exercise. If you have very tight fiber and you are a very strong person, we said, right? So you're probably going to need something really vigorous, something that really kind of strains you once in a while, like gets your pulse up. But if you are like sensitive, a little bit more weak constitution, then you need more gentle exercise. Otherwise, your body is going to be strained and you're going to be more open to stress. So I don't know if it makes sense, but you can just ask if it doesn't. So the fourth is herbal aid. That's my favorite. I mean, I am an herbalist, so that's what I've been studying my whole life. And I want to give you some really good herbal aid for stress. So we can divide it in acute remedy and long-term remedy, depending what you need, or sometimes you need both. If you are very stressed, probably you're gonna go for an acute remedy while you're building up resilience with a long-term remedy. So let's start with an acute remedy. And acute remedy is something that you have to take when you are stressed, basically, when you feel like, okay, now I'm getting to the edge, right? The first one is beautiful skull cup. And it's an herb. You use the flower, you use the leaves, you use all the real plant. So you usually use it in tincture form. If you don't know what tincture is an hydroalcoholic extracts, or sometimes it's also done with the glycerin. What? Sometimes it's also done with glycerin. So if you don't want to have like the alcoholic part, but sometimes, you know, you don't use a lot of it. So you can definitely, yeah. It also tastes nice in tincture, because if you go to the infusion form, which is another kind of extraction, it's slightly bitter. That's why it's written not alone, because it's like bitter and not everyone can, you know, likes it. And it's best to take it in the evening. Why is that? Because it helps you sleep, among others. It also helps you relieving stress, getting a little bit more rooted, grounded, you know. So it's a really, really good herb if you are stressed. You can also take it in capsules if you don't like to use time making your tea, or if you don't like the tincture taste. So yeah, if you have like some aversion toward alcohol. Another one is ostro. Ostro is one of those plants that everybody knows what it's using, but it's so potent. So we usually eat oat seeds, but the straw are actually very good medicine, and is called a nervine. All these plants are nervine. Nervine, it means they act on your nerves, making them relax. It's also a very nourishing plant. That's why my favorite way of taking it is throughout an overnight infusion. So if you do this overnight infusion, 3 tablespoons, for example, in 1 liter boiled water, and then you leave it overnight and you take it throughout the day, is going to help you tremendously, actually getting nourished, but also fighting stress. So it's an amazing plant, and I cannot suggest it enough. You can also take it in tincture if you don't like infusions, or if you are like a bit lazy, you don't want to have your tea bottles like doing the healthy guy at work, then you can take your tincture. And or in capsules as well. So, and this is like a different herbal aid. It's not like phytotherapy, what we have been talking so far, but it's homeopathy. So it's something a bit different, but it's working. And it's, I don't know if you know, homeopathy works more energetically, but also works more towards personality. So this chamomile is for those kind of stress conditions that are described by being a lot irritable, like anger, resentment. The person easily bursts out at you, or like has this childish behavior. So that kind of personality, that kind of, let's say, condition that you have in that moment, the emotion that you have in those moments, can be easily treated with chamomile 5-CH, which is the dilution. So, but now we go to long-term remedies, which are even more interesting. It's a whole category which are called adaptogens. And as the word says, they kind of help your body adapt to what? To your environment. So it's going to adapt you to the stress level, not stress level, but it's not going to adapt you to the environment you're in. So to the kind of stress that you're living in, like throughout in your life. So adaptogens are plants or mushrooms that can help your body respond to stress, but also are good for anxiety, fatigue, and overall well-being. And I like to take them as food in soup or like beverage, but you can also take them as a tincture. I like to put it in food because I believe that I'm also a chemist, so I know that every time you do an extraction, you take something out also. So you take something, so some of the things you're not gonna have. So if you have it as a food, you take the whole thing. So you take not only the minerals, but also the alkaloids, but also the fiber. Everything that is in there is gonna be absorbed, or like at least try to be absorbed by the body. So adaptogens, this is like a list that I think this presentation is going to be sent around, but this is like a list of like different adaptogens that you can take. We're not going to talk of all of them. We're going to talk of like few, but I can tell you that the adaptogens, because it's a long-term remedies and I kind of help your body adapt. So all your physiology is going to be not changed, but improved to adapt your body and your mind to the stressors. So it takes time to work. So usually up to 2 months you have to put. Some of them are quicker, some of them takes longer, but it takes a longer time for you to build strength and stamina and endurance. And they also have interaction. All the plant. I mean, if you take out homeopathy, all the rest have interaction with other medicines. So if you are in doubts, you should ask somebody that knows. Whether there is an interaction. I mean, not always there is, but if there is, you should know this because it can give some problems. And they all have differences. So they all work as adaptogens, so to adapt your body, but they have small differences. Some of them are more on the immune system. Some of them are more on the hormone balance. So some of them are more on the physical strength or other mental strength. Like one of them is very good for students, which is rhodiola, but we're not going to talk about it today. So Siberian ginseng is one of them. It's called ginseng, even though it's not really a ginseng, because it has kind of the same action, but not the same mechanism of action. So it doesn't act in the body in the same way, but it's having the same effects as Korean ginseng. So it's called Siberian ginseng because of the action it has. So adrenal support. Adrenals are those, the adrenals are those that produce adrenaline and cortisol and all the stress hormones. So it's gonna have like adrenal support is the first thing for an adaptogen. Almost all of them have that. Then you have increased stamina and endurance, better health, mental and physical performance, which everyone you could, have. Think about it, and you can be taken both in capsules or powder, in soup, smoothies, but even tincture you can take it. I've been giving it to my patient in tincture as well. So not here in Denmark because it's not legal, but in Ireland. Best in the morning because it's kind of boosting you. It's a very. I think it can be taken. Some of the herbs are more masculine, some of them are more feminine. This is kind of in the middle, so it's good for everyone. While Korean ginseng, it's more masculine herb. It's also taking care of like the hormonal balance of male and so on. Ashwagandha, this is an awesome plant that comes from Ayurveda. And why I took it because you can find it everywhere in Denmark. So if you go to a health shop, you usually find it in powder and you can add it to food. And please add it to food because it kind of smells and tastes like dirty horse. So just saying, but it's extremely powerful and it's a very masculine herb. So adrenal support, better sleep. So this is good if you have sleeping problem. And if you have thyroid problems or weight problems, so thyroid and weight, they go together because they kind of affect each other. And so if you have these kind of issues, I would say that ashwagandha is the best fit. And again, you can take in capsule powder. I haven't really used it very much in tinctures, so I don't have a lot of experience with that. But powder, I have a lot, so it works wonder. It takes up to 2 months, this one, to actually you feel the benefits, but you will feel the benefits. And it's best to take it in the evening because, helps to sleep. So Yeah, you remember that.
So when you fart, you don't just sleeping with it.
Well, if you put it in food, you don't taste it as much, I can assure you. And the last one that I'm going to present today is holy basil. This is another awesome plant that comes from Ayurveda. And I like to take it because we talked a lot about masculine herbs like ashwagandha, ginseng, but this is a very feminine herb. So has a wonderful smell, and it's also called liquid yoga. So because it has all the benefits of yoga. So it kind of help again with adrenal support is something that is common to every one of the adaptogens. But it's also immunomodulating because it's going to help your immune system kind of balance itself. So if you have predisposition towards autoimmune disease, then it's going to kind of help it balancing down. So if you have an overactive immune system, it's going to help balancing. If you have an underactive immune system, it's going to help it as well. So it's a modulator. And this is kind of having common with another herb that we're going to talk about today, which is astragalus, which comes from the Chinese tradition instead, but kind of does the same thing. And hormone balancing. So it's also very good if you have mood swings or like you are in a difficult balance period.
There's a lot of those you need to take in general.
So this one I usually recommend in tincture form because it works wonder, and also in tincture form. So, and it's best in the morning because it's kind of helping you getting throughout the day. So that was the herbal aid. The fifth one, it's something that you might know already, but I would like to focus on that, which is mindfulness. So mindfulness have been really helping me when I was working at Novo Nordisk as a project manager. And I've been working really long hours and for very, very stressing projects. And mindfulness works wonder. So I tried on myself, my husband tried it. Everyone, I guess, of my clients have, or like maybe many. So mindfulness, it's a technique to cope not only with stress, but with so many other things through it's a sort of meditation of breathing technique. It's something in the middle, but it has a lot of benefits. First of all, help relieve stress, but also treat heart disease and lower blood pressure. Why you think is that? It's because he's working on the breathing. So if you regulate your breath, your breathing, then you're gonna also have an impact on your heart. It's also gonna have an impact on your blood pressure, because if you have an impact on your heart, you also have an impact on your blood pressure. It's also help reduce chronic pain because you kind of change your mindset to some extent. It's also improving sleep and alleviate gastrointestinal difficulties. So it has a lot of different benefits. And I was thinking, I don't know what time is it, but oh yes, I think, I don't know, I was thinking about having an exercise here in class. I don't know if you could, or if you like that a bit. Anyway, what? You okay? Yeah. So what I was thinking is, I'll tell you what to do. So mindfulness, the easiest way of doing mindfulness is through counting and breathing. So maybe you know this already if you've been on one of these like mindfulness seminars. But so you inspire and count up to 10 within you, and then aspire and count within you down from 10 to 1. So you basically inspire for about 10 seconds and expire for about 10 seconds. And every time, because it will happen, your mind is going to wander away. You're going to start thinking, oh, what can I have for dinner? Or something else. You have to go back to your breath and your counting. It's a way to train your mind. Actually, it's a part of your brain that is not trained much, because I think in our society, we have like this tendency to being overstimulated all the time by like screens, by a lot of things we have to do. So we don't actually train this part of our body, which is extremely important to actually be present in the moment and connect within ourselves. So every time your mind starts wandering, you go back there. You go back where you were. So breathing in and out, 10 seconds out, 10 seconds in. Shall we try? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you not much, maybe 2 minutes. Yeah? You can start now. Close your eyes and start breathing in and out. 10 seconds out, 10 seconds in. Yeah? You can go back when you're ready. And I would like to ask you, how many times did your thoughts wander away? Was it like every few seconds, or were you able to actually keep being concentrated? How was it? Was it easy?
No.
Yeah, it was easy for someone, not easy for others. That means like that brain part is more developed in someone and not so much in others. It really depends on your lifestyle as well, right? So can you inspire without feeling tired? One of the things that I actually start feeling when I start doing mindfulness, I was very stressed, and I couldn't breathe in more than 4 seconds. Okay, I had trouble, and I was feeling like I'm not gonna have like enough breath. It was really, really impossible for me actually to do it. And that's something that you train by doing it. And I can tell you, the more you train that, the more you're going to not only feel connected, but the more you're going to have like breath capacity, and your heart is going to work better. Your heart rate is going to stabilize, and it's going to have a lot of different good benefits that we talk about. So train these things, because it will change. Even though now it's difficult, it will change by training it, and you'll see the benefits. Have you noticed something in your body? Something that I noticed also is that when you try to do this type of meditation, you start feeling your body to some extent. If you're not completely disconnected, then you start feeling, oh, I have a little bit of headache. How long has it been going on? Like, something that you didn't really pay attention throughout the day. Might have had like a little bit of headache, and was your body telling you maybe you're not drinking enough, or like maybe you did something, or you didn't sleep enough, or something else. That's a symptoms. Every symptoms is something that your body is trying to tell, and sometimes we don't want to pay attention to those. So mindfulness is also a nice way to pay attention to what your body is trying to tell you. So thank you. And this is other ways of doing mindfulness together with movement, because as we talked, not everyone is the same. So someone likes to do mindfulness still, like my husband really likes to do it in the toilet. So, I mean, it really up to people. But other people really like to do it through movement. And there are many ways to do it. Yoga is one of them. So going to yoga, I kind of help doing mindfulness, because you work a lot on breathing, on being present in the moment while you are moving. Another way, it's Qigong. I don't know if you know about it. This comes from, the other one is our Vedic tradition, of course, and this one is like Chinese medicine, Chinese tradition. Qigong, it's another way of doing mindfulness through movement. So I'm actually organizing like a Qigong retreat in June. It's a herbal retreat, but we're going to do Qigong as well in June. So if you want to join, if you don't know what Qigong is, it's a nice opportunity to try that out. This is more Western way, spend time in nature. I can't tell that enough. So go to nature like without your telephone, and or like don't look at your telephone, and you just stay there listening to the sound of birds, I don't know, staring at trees. That's another way while you're walking, or I don't know, it depends what you like, but doing mindfulness in the woods is one of the best way to actually get in contact with yourself and with nature and with the world. Yeah. So that's all about the mindfulness. But do you think I really put 5 fundamental steps? No. We have also 6th one, which you should be aware of, like screen-free time. That's like imperative. So, I mean, you cannot try to cope with stress if you have your telephone, you check your telephone all the time. So just remember to have screen-free time. Don't bring your telephone in your bedroom, or like try to have a day without telephone for all day, a Sunday. I don't know, I work with my telephone as well, so I know how difficult that is. But try to have this period of time where you don't look at the phone. You're not like always like looking what is happening, because it's extremely beneficial. Yeah. And then I have a bonus. I have some other techniques, amazing techniques, I can tell you, that you can use to increase your stress coping levels. So if you want to train your body to cope with stress, so kind of increase your threshold when you become stressed, that's amazing technique that you can use. Breathing techniques. As we talked about, lungs function, breathing techniques can really affect your heart rate and your heart in general. So your heart rate, circulation, and so on. So anything that can affect your heart, it can also affect your response, actually, because if you know that when you're stressed, for example, your heart rate is high. When you're relaxed, it's kind of relaxed, so it's low. And you can artificially do that, the kind of train your body to cope with stress. You can also try to relax yourself through breathing, of course, and that's what everybody knows. So you can relax by, usually the best way is by breathing in 2 times and then expire very slowly and in a very prolonged way. So in a very long time, you prolong your expiration. So. And you do that a couple of times. When you inspire, maybe you inspire twice, and then maybe wait a second, try to hold your breath in, and then expire out. That's a way to relax, artificially relax your body by affecting your heart rate through your lungs. Another way, so the other way that I wanted to talk about is to train stress management. So kind of increase your stress levels, not your stress levels, your threshold, I would say. And you also do that through the breath, and you do it by inspiring and expiring very fast. So you can have a long inspiration, and then when you start doing it, you see that you start becoming warm, your heart rate is gonna like increase, and you're gonna train your body to cope. If you do it every day, you're gonna train your body to cope with stress at a whole different level. So you're gonna increase your threshold. Does it make sense?
Yes.
So try to do it at home to see how your body reacts. Usually when I do that, I get all sweaty. So I'm not doing too much now because, not nice. But this is one way. Another way is winter bathing. And I mean, it's very popular here in the north. So I mean, I'm probably not telling you anything new, but there are a lot of actually studies that show that it boosts immune system, reduce stress, burns calories, improve circulation, release endorphins. So a lot of like amazing things. But I mean, yeah. I mean, but who wants to do that? Let's talk about it. So what I usually do, because unless you are trained, you don't easily do that. So where can you start? Because a lot of clients comes to me and I want them to do that because it's not only good for that, it's good for a lot of other things, especially if they are a type of constitution. So I want them to do that, but how can I kind of introduce them to that? I usually tell them to have like a shower and then finishing off the shower with cold water, very cold water, the coldest that they can bear and tolerate. So they usually say, start with 10 seconds, or like, which is a lot in the beginning. I mean, try to count up to 10 and see, under cold water, it's not like easy task. And then you increase because you kind of build resistance. And then you see that if they start, I encourage them to start within like spring or summer because it's the easiest. But then if you train yourself enough, you'll be able to have winter bath without really having any trouble. Like you want to do that. And study says that you have to do it 11 minutes a week, but trust me, I'll do less than that. And I still feel a lot of good benefits. Among them, I mean, burst calorie, because I mean, I don't know how much time is that to go into deeply with information, but it burns calorie because it transforms white fat into brown fat, for example, if you know that. And improve circulation because it's like a second reaction of cold is actually producing heat from your body. So everyone has a scientific explanation why it does that. But of course, it needs to be done by building up to that, okay? And if you have a heart condition, don't do it right away. You have to build up even more to that because, you know, you maybe have heard that there's been some accident if you have like heart issues, yeah? So I have another fundamental step for you, but it's very easy and it's just the end of it. And it's I think the most important one, which is listen to your body always. So you know better your body and you know better yourself. So when you feel like this is getting too much, stop. So take care of yourself, nurture yourself always, okay? So I think that's it. And thank you for your attention. And